Intriguingly, recent linguistic and DNA evidence means some historians here are rethinking the very identity and ancestry of Isla's inhabitants.
What if everything you thought you knew about Scottish ancestry was only part of the story? Behind the legendary clans, fierce Highland warriors, and Celtic traditions lies a genetic history far stranger than anyone imagined. Ancient DNA has uncovered forgotten migrations, mysterious tribes, and bloodlines stretching back more than 10,000 years. Hidden within the genomes of modern Scots are traces of Ice Age hunters, Viking settlers, Roman soldiers, and people from lands thousands of miles away. This remarkable journey completely transforms Scotland's past. The truth about Scottish clans and a global genetic legacy. For generations, Scottish clans have symbolized family loyalty and shared ancestry. Popular imagination portrays every member of a clan descending from one heroic ancestor whose blood united countless descendants. Modern DNA testing tells a far more complicated story. Many clans were not biological families at all. Instead, they functioned as political alliances and protective communities. During periods of conflict, ordinary families often adopted the surname of powerful clan leaders in exchange for protection, land, or social status. This explains why some major clans contain numerous unrelated male lineages despite sharing identical surnames. Other clans, however, reveal remarkably consistent Y chromosome patterns, indicating descent from a genuine common ancestor. Scotland's clan system combined both biological inheritance and social identity in ways historians never fully appreciated. Meanwhile, isolated Highland communities continued preserving genetic signatures rarely found elsewhere in Europe. Certain islands contain DNA combinations that survived thousands of years because geography limited outside migration. These remarkable genetic time capsules continue, helping scientists reconstruct ancient human history. Eventually, Scotland's people carried those ancient bloodlines across the globe. During the Highland clearances, colonial expansion, economic hardship, and wars, millions of Scots emigrated to Canada, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, and countless other destinations. Today, people living thousands of miles from Scotland may unknowingly carry DNA inherited from Mesolithic hunters, Bronze Age farmers, Viking settlers, or mysterious Pictish warriors. Modern ancestry testing can often pinpoint these origins with surprising precision, linking individuals not merely to Scotland itself, but to specific islands, valleys, and regions whose genetic signatures remained distinct for centuries. Even more intriguing are occasional discoveries of rare markers connected to North Africa, the Middle East, and distant Eurasian populations. Whether introduced through Roman soldiers, medieval traders, or ancient migrations still being investigated, these findings remind us that Scotland has never been as isolated as legends sometimes suggest. Its history is not a single bloodline. It is an intricate tapestry woven from countless journeys spanning thousands of years. The first Scots before the Celts. Long before castles crowned the hills or bagpipes echoed across the Highlands, Scotland looked nothing like it does today. Around 12,000 years ago, enormous glaciers buried nearly the entire landscape beneath thick sheets of ice. There were no forests, villages, or farms, only frozen valleys and rocky peaks shaped by the relentless movement of ice. As the climate slowly warmed, the glaciers retreated, revealing fertile land that attracted plants, animals, and eventually people. The first settlers entered Scotland not as conquerors but as hunter-gatherers, following herds of deer and wild boar across Europe. They traveled along coastlines and rivers, surviving through hunting, fishing, and gathering whatever nature provided. For generations, historians imagined these first Scots as early Celts, but DNA tells a completely different story. Genetic analysis shows these ancient people possessed surprisingly dark skin, combined with striking blue eyes, a combination that was common among many Mesolithic Europeans. Their appearance would seem unusual today, yet it represented one of the earliest populations to inhabit Britain. These pioneering communities lived in small family groups scattered across the landscape. They crafted stone blades, bone tools, and simple shelters while learning to survive Scotland's harsh environment. Every generation adapted a little more to the rugged terrain surrounding them. Perhaps the greatest surprise is not that these people once existed, but that their genetic legacy still survives. Scientists have discovered traces of their DNA in isolated Highland communities and remote islands where generations remained relatively separated from the rest of Europe. Unlike major cities constantly transformed by invasion and migration, these isolated regions became natural time capsules. The Bronze Age Revolution and the rise of the Picts. Around 4,500 years ago, new arrivals crossed into Britain carrying something that looked completely harmless: distinctive bell-shaped pottery. Archaeologists would later call them the Beaker people, but their greatest contribution had nothing to do with ceramics. These migrants originated from regions that now include the Netherlands, Germany, and northern France. Along with advanced farming techniques and metalworking skills, they brought an entirely different genetic heritage. The impact was astonishing. Ancient DNA studies suggest that within only a few centuries, these newcomers replaced much of Britain's male population. Scotland experienced one of the most dramatic genetic shifts in European prehistory. This was not necessarily the result of violent conquest. Instead, centuries of migration, intermarriage, and cultural change gradually transformed the population. Still, Scotland's remote highlands and islands protected some of the older bloodlines. Rather than completely replacing the original inhabitants, the country became a unique blend of Ice Age hunter-gatherers and Bronze Age migrants. As agriculture expanded, permanent villages appeared, trade networks connected distant communities, and society became increasingly organized. New languages also began spreading across the region, laying the foundation for what would later become Celtic culture. Then emerged one of Scotland's greatest historical mysteries. The Romans called them the Picts, the painted people. To Roman soldiers stationed south of Hadrian's Wall, the Picts represented fearless northern warriors who refused to surrender. They carved mysterious symbols into massive stones, fought fiercely against invasion, and left behind almost no written records explaining who they were. For centuries, historians wondered whether the Picts had invaded Scotland from elsewhere, or simply vanished from history altogether. DNA has finally answered those questions. Genetic evidence shows the Picts were not foreign invaders at all. They descended directly from Iron Age populations already living across Scotland. They inherited both the ancient hunter-gatherer ancestry and the newer Beaker heritage, Romans, Vikings, and unexpected bloodlines. While the Picts defended Scotland's north, another powerful civilization approached from the south. The Roman Empire reached Britain during the 1st century. Although Roman armies never fully conquered Scotland, they established forts, roads, and military outposts near the frontier. Hadrian's Wall became one of history's most famous defensive structures, marking Rome's northern boundary. However, Rome's influence extended beyond military construction. Roman legions were incredibly diverse. Soldiers arrived from Spain, Syria, North Africa, the Middle East, and countless other provinces stretching across the empire. Many remained stationed in Britain for years, building families alongside local communities. As a result, small traces of Mediterranean and Middle Eastern ancestry entered Scotland's genetic landscape. While these markers remain relatively rare, they reveal that Scotland's population was connected to the wider ancient world far more than historians once believed. Then came the Vikings. Beginning in the late 8th century, longships appeared along Scotland's rugged coastlines. Unlike many raiders elsewhere in Europe, Viking settlers established permanent communities throughout northern Scotland, especially in Orkney and Shetland. Their influence proved enormous. Modern genetic research shows that a remarkable percentage of male ancestry in Orkney traces directly to Norse settlers. In some regions, Viking genetic influence rivals or even exceeds that found in parts of modern Norway. Scotland's DNA proves that history is never as simple as old legends suggest. Beneath every clan name, every Highland valley, and every ancient stone lies a story written not only in books, but also in the genes of people living today. Each new scientific discovery uncovers another forgotten chapter, reminding us that our ancestors traveled farther and mixed more than anyone once believed. If you enjoyed uncovering these incredible genetic mysteries, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more fascinating journeys into ancient history, archaeology, and the hidden stories our DNA still remembers.